We are 1 week away from the first ever live action Star Wars TV show. I know a lot of people are getting upset when it's being referred to as the first ever Star Wars TV show because we have had droids and Ewoks in the past. Those are the only two that I consider canon. Clone Wars and Rebels, no, they got nothing on my droids and Ewoks. But this is the first ever live action show. It's The Mandalorian. 1 week today. We're all going to be wiser into knowing what the hell is going on. Episode 2 on the 15th. The first one, though, debuts with Disney Plus debut on November 12th. My name is James Vasilia, and joining me today is...
Hi, it's me, Aaron. You guys might know me as Aaron Quinton, and I'm all over Twitter and YouTube and that sort of thing. How you doing, James?
I'm doing great. Hope you're well.
I'm doing well. It's getting cold here in Buffalo, and we just had the time change, and my brain is still trying to work that one out. How about you?
I find the time change gets a lot harder the older I get. It's a pain in the man.
Absolutely.
Did you get snow yet?
No. I saw a couple folks on the highway barreling by with some snow flying off their rear bumpers this morning, but I didn't get any snow. No.
I had some flurries on Friday, and I hated my life. Also, Buffalo, shout out Buffalo, Christmas music 24/7 right now in the Buffalo station. I had to Google it because I'm like, I have a feeling they're going to be doing it. Every year it gets earlier and earlier. Next year, I'm telling you, Halloween, they're just going to blast it at like noon on Halloween.
And you were right.
Yeah.
And I was in the car with my son, and I looked at Noah and I said, nope. We're not listening to this.
It's a little too early, I think. But I'm telling you right now, my wife Erin has the Hallmark Christmas specials on like constant play right now. Like it was, I think, midnight November 1st. She's like, bam, hits the record button, and what is it? 2 months almost completely of Hallmark Christmas specials, like Christmas music in Buffalo. So enjoy that. I just can't. Every year it gets earlier over there. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the Mandalorian. We've heard that his identity will be a shock to maybe us or to the characters in the show when we discover who he is. This is Who is the Mandalorian. This is our 5th and final episode of Who is the Mandalorian, because in a week we probably won't find out who he is, but we'll have a better understanding of who he is. First I got to ask you, though, when did you ever think, I know you have an idea of who he is, and I really like your idea, that's why we're talking today, but did you ever like, before you heard we didn't know his identity, did that ever cross your mind about like, oh, maybe it's Django or something like that?
Well, I mean, I'm leaning in a couple of different directions, to be honest with you. So I do have a pretty strong and what I think would be a pretty cool theory. Now, it's the shocking part that kind of that really gets me. Like, if there is any theory that you or I or anyone else could have, trying to include this concept that it's going to be shocking, I think that's what's actually the most problematic to any theory. But I actually right away. Here are my initial thoughts, and then we can get into that theory that you wanted me to share on your show. And thank you again for having me.
Of course.
So my initial thoughts were this. So, and this is where, like, wow, I'm supposed to be such a big canon junkie. There is a canon novel, and I want to say it's one of the Aftermath books, but I'm really not sure, where they talk about people finding Boba Fett's armor outside of the Sarlacc pit, right? But not a body, right? And so maybe your viewers out there can help us out in the comments below and tell us if you recall, and smash that like button.
Yeah,
smash it.
And subscribe. I always forget to tell people to do that.
And don't forget to also click on the little bell so you can continue to get future Star Wars content. I want to thank you kindly again for your support, and I'll catch you guys next time. Oh, wait, wrong wrong podcast.
I'm
But
I'm going to record you saying that, and I'm just going to play that off the
and you got to get a little dartboard, James. But
oh.
anyways, hey, I love that guy because he gets my theory juices flowing sometimes. Let me tell you, even if it's all nonsense. And but so that's where I was leaning. Like, maybe this is a guy from Mandalore who is looking to reassemble Boba Fett's armor, but then people have pointed out, no, the armor's different, yada yada yada. So I was like, okay, all right. Favreau really loves Boba Fett though, so we're not going to have any references to him at all. And I do want to take you back though to something. So there was a last minute cancellation. No, not in Utah. Not Hayden Christensen when he was with Ian McDermott. I'm not talking about that. But if you guys recall, you guys can check this out. It was all over Twitter. Tamura Morrison, who played Jango Fett, and therefore all the clones, he was last minute canceled from Star Wars Celebration. And that dude, I'm telling you, if there's any, he's bald now, and he's got like those features. He's got that old man strength, is what we would call it in the U.S. Navy, that old man strength. And he just has that look, like an old Rex or an old clone. And I don't see how you do this show and not bring him into it. But I mean, do you want me to get right into what I think is the stronger theory then?
I just before when you get into that, I just want to say I do have this feeling that the show is going to start and we're going to learn that Boba Fett is dead. I think that's going to be a huge shocker. They say there's a spoiler in the first episode. It's a Star Wars shocker, they say. Oh no, sorry, Star Wars spoiler. And if Boba Fett's dead, that spoils a lot. You don't want that information leaked to anybody right away. But anyway,
yeah. But whoa! I know maybe you want to move on, but I got to push back there. It's so far it's canon as far as we know from what we've been told by many different individuals, right? That Boba Fett is dead. So that wouldn't be a spoiler. The spoiler would be that he's not dead. The spoiler would be Boba Fett is not dead. That people are looking for him. But that would be a spoiler.
People love Boba Fett so much that I think even if they showed his dead corpse, it would be like Elvis. People are like, he's still alive. I saw Boba Fett. He's still alive. That's what I think. You can't kill Boba Fett.
No, you're totally right. You are totally right.
Maybe look. I think the first episode. I think though
that's will. Him. That's him.
That's
no,
Boba
it's
Fett.
not.
No,
I think
you're
they ruining my childhood.
They will address Boba Fett early on. I think just to like nip it in the butt. Be like, let's get this out of the way and move on. Yeah. All right, you have an idea of who the Mandalorian could be. Let me know who that is and why. Okay,
so let me take you back to Star Wars Rebels, and the Clone Wars feeds into this a little bit, but not nearly as much as Rebels. And I've been saying for a while on my channel that I strongly see correlation in a foreshadowing sense between Star Wars Rebels and future live action content where I think Filoni has had his fingers in the pie in many different ways. Like if you go back and watch The Force Awakens behind the scenes stuff, Filoni's there at the very first art direction meetings where they're coming up with concept art. He was one of those guys, so I think that he knows about certain things that are being planned and he's having fun. Kind of in Star Wars Rebels, he was having fun foreshadowing stuff. I also think that, at the point when they're doing that show, he's already talking to Favreau about the Mandalorian, right? It's just we didn't know about it, but they were already discussing it. So when you watch their interviews, you can kind of put two and two together. And the show got really Mandalorian heavy, starting with season 3, especially.
Oh
What we really dig into is a character named Sabine Wren. And of course, I'm not saying that Pascal's character is Sabine Wren. I mean, obviously not. But what we forget is that Sabine was a Mandalorian who served in the Empire, and she was disgraced from her Clan Wren. And the leader of Clan Wren, by the way, is Sabine's mother, which is Countess Ursa Wren. And Sabine has a brother named Tristan Wren. And for a long time, her Clan Wren, had a lot of problems with the surrounding clans because of Sabine joining up with the Empire. And we learn about this weapon that she built that can destroy Mandalorian armor. And it's all counter to their culture that she did any of this. And this, obviously, we don't know all of Sabine's story. We don't know how she ended up with the Ghost Crew, which is kind of cool. I mean, maybe we could see that develop further down the road. But anyways, we see Sabine go with the Ghost Crew, Kanan and Ezra and Hera and Chopper, etc., and Zeb, and they go to save her father. And her father is being held captive by the Empire, and her brother is shocked that she's shown back up into the mix. So what I think would be really fascinating, just to fast forward here, is that it's because Sabine is in with Kanan Jarrus that she ends up having a mentor that helps her unify the clans of Mandalore, but under the leadership of Satine, Duchess Satine's sister, Bo-Katan Kryze. Okay, and so eventually, we have this whole thing with the dark saber. Sabine gives it up to Bo-Katan, and Sabine ends up going really, in essence, back with the Ghost Crew. Even though we're kind of left thinking that she's going to stay on Mandalore and she's going to deal with Mandalorian politics, and she does for a little while, and it's questionable if she goes back to Mandalore or not. But we do know that she's out of the picture again after the Battle of Endor, because that's around the same time that Ahsoka Tano comes, picks her up on that red and white Jedi ship or whatever with the X-wing escort off of Lothal, of all places. So it's implying Sabine has been more on Lothal than anywhere else, not Mandalore. So one would have to ask, well, what happened to Ursa Wren, their mother, and who would be left in charge of the entire Wren clan under Bo-Katan's leadership? Who we don't know anything yet about a Mandalorian battle against the Empire, which I find fascinating to ask. Well, when during the events of Return of the Jedi and the Battle of Endor, what the heck were these Mandalorians doing? Right? Were they fighting the Empire on Mandalore? So I think the obvious answer is that Tristan Wren, Sabine's brother, would have been the leader of Clan Wren around that time. His age also fits perfectly with the Mandalorian. And what I'm going towards here is that maybe Mandalore lost. So even though the Empire was defeated, okay, and even though the rebels won the Battle of Endor, we're dealing with a show that's about the consequences of the dissolution of the Empire. And I've got a bad feeling that Mandalore didn't fare well, did not fare well, and that the Empire did what it could to wipe out their culture, which would mean that there would be a Mandalorian like diaspora, where these people would have nowhere to go and nothing to do, and maybe some of them would even look up to people like Sabine Wren, and even people who, from what we're told, Jango Fett was not a Mandalorian, but he did rock the armor in a very recognizable way, and so did his son. And why not? So if you're a Mandalorian refugee, and I'm saying it's Tristan Wren, it's Sabine Wren's brother, then why not, fit the mold and become a bounty hunter and try to, just instill that intimidation and fear into people. But then at the same time, this gives this character a certain, not only gravitas, because he's one of the last surviving members of Mandalore, and he used to be like the head of a clan, and then you get to deal with the fallout of that culturally. But he also then would have loose ties to all these other shows. I mean, not just Star Wars Rebels, but to the Clone Wars and to characters from that show. And it would be kind of like what I talk about with Ahsoka being like a canon glue between different series and that sort of thing. Well, they could turn Tristan Wren into that as well. So I'm leaning that way. If the Mandalorian is really from Mandalore, I think the age fits, the characteristics fit, the dark hair, the brown eyes, like the chiseled jaw. I mean, you just put I don't know if Pascal's going to have the mustache on under the mask or not. Well, right. I mean, we don't even know that. I mean, just because that's how the man, grooms himself in public doesn't mean his character is going to have a mustache, but even if he did, it doesn't matter. I mean, we're talking about Tristan would be, how much older at this point, not as old as people would think. So maybe in his mid 30s, and then that would work, so, but that's my theory. That's who I think the Mandalorian is Tristan Wren, the brother of Sabine Wren from Star Wars Rebels.
Yeah, I love that idea. The shock, like you said, the shock factor, I don't know if it's there. It might be it all depends on the context of shock, right? Like, and we don't know, the quote is taken out of context. Even when you hear it, when they speak about it, you don't know what they're referring to. Like, is it a shock of the Mandalorian history? Is it a shock of the TV show that you're watching? Is it the shock of Star Wars as a whole? We don't know. And until we find that out, the shock could be very minimal for all we know. But I do love that idea because, like you said, and I love how you use Ahsoka as the glue, but now you have this character who could tie Rebels into your live action series, and all of a sudden everything starts merging together the way that we all, I think, kind of hoped it would from the very start of this Disney purchase, and we have this unified galaxy for once. Maybe not a fandom unified, but a galaxy unified, and we could start seeing like, okay, well, if they could bring this character from, this minor character from Rebels into the show, what else can they give us?
Right, and maybe that's the shock.
Yeah.
So maybe the shock value is that there are a lot of folks out there who, for various reasons, some logical and some, I think, unfounded, but for various reasons, either do not believe that animated characters can or should make the transition to live action. And if they do, it should be kept at bay or limited in scope or whatever. And maybe the shock is Lucasfilm just doubling down and saying, nope, to those people who believe that or think that it's not possible, you're wrong. And we're going to dig into whatever we want from the canon, whether it's comic books or novels or animated shows, and we'll make whoever we want live action whenever we want. And that would, like you said, the sky would be the limit. I mean, there's a lot of people out there who would want to see a live action Dr. Aphra. And there's plenty of casual Star Wars fans who, if you said, hey, what did you think of that last Dr. Aphra book? They would look at you cross-eyed and say, who the hell's Dr. Aphra? What are you talking about?
But they might like the series. Or
but
the
they
movie
might like the series or the movie, right? Yeah, exactly.
No, there's no sense in just, if you're in a comic, you're in a comic. If you're in a cartoon, you're in a cartoon. That's fine. There's no sense in just pigeonholing into that. If you have a character, Saw Gerrera is an example of that.
Right. Oh yeah.
You don't need to, when my parents went to go see Rogue One, they didn't know who Saw Gerrera was.
No, it didn't matter.
It did not matter. Now he's everywhere. He's the most he's the most used Star Wars character of them all at this point. But no one cared going into Rogue One who Saw Gerrera was.
Because to them he's just another new character.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's how you have to treat it. I think if you do bring a character from Rebels into the Mandalorian, like Tristan, then you do have to treat him. You can't treat him the same way you would treat, someone from A New Hope, but that's fine. You don't have to. You just like, this is a guy. This is who he is. You're going to relive his backstory on film anyway. We're going to see it again. So it's okay.
Another thing that actually gives credence to this is they already hinted to this type of an overlap and merging of mediums in the trailer, because we see the droid ship fly overhead, and there's B-2 super battle droids chasing people in live action for the first time since Revenge of the Sith. I mean, we haven't even seen these things on screen other than in animated shows until the Mandalorian trailer, in years. I mean, think about it. It's been 14 years since they've been in live action. I mean, come on. So if they're willing to show us that, and that still lines up too, because the Separatists and Mandalore and that history of what took place, there were some people speculating that the little kid with the little red hood on was actually the Mandalorian, and that's a flashback scene.
Yeah.
And so his mother's holding him, and the super battle droids are chasing him. So I mean, that's possible. I mean, I guess in a way that kind of you have to go real far back if that's Clan Wren. Was there a point in time in Clan Wren's history when they were on the run from the Separatists? I don't know, because from what I understand, they haven't covered it yet. So flashbacks would be a cool way of tying stuff together too. And I don't know. There is one other. What do you think of this, though? I have thought about this. Pascal does look similar enough to Morrison, okay, where he could pass as a clone.
Well, I thought maybe, and this is,
Couldn't he pass as a clone?
Well, here's what. So Rob did last week, episode 4. Rob kind of did a child of Commander Cody, and I was thinking, what if he is just a child of like some random clone?
A clone's child.
Yeah,
right.
So it doesn't have to be exact.
So the mother makes his features look different.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's.
And we saw that in the Clone Wars. There was a clone defector who married a Twi'lek girl, and they had these human Twi'lek hybrid children. And Rex found him, and he was like, "Well, even though you're a deserter, I'm still gonna let you go because you're
Rex
a good guy."
Awesome.
Rex is.
The thing is, if you do that, then he is living up to his. He's wearing the armor out of respect to his father, grandfather type of thing, and honoring maybe he could be honoring not only Mandalore but also Boba Fett and Jango. However, Favreau did say our guy is Mandalorian. Favreau
he did say that.
I mean, but maybe Boba Fett or maybe one of these clones married a Mandalorian woman, so it all comes back to it.
Excuse me. Yeah, no, yeah, I totally. It's interesting because I think what this also does is and even for me, but this kind of pushes back at the fan base a little bit here, and has us reconsider. A lot of us, exactly how much do we know about Mandalore and Mandalorian culture? And there's a whole, niche group of fans that are just straight up just hardcore Mando fans. And, I'm not saying that I'm not a fan of Mandalorian stuff, but I mean, these are the people who are like the diehard Mandalorian fans that they could tell you every detail from the old EU that's now Legends, and I can't, frankly. So, I think there's a lot of stuff in there that we could be missing.
Yeah, and who knows it better than Dave Filoni? That's Dave. Favreau calls Filoni. Why does he call Filoni? Because Filoni is the gatekeeper. He knows all of this stuff. He knows it all better than anybody. Maybe better than George Lucas. Maybe not. Maybe a little bit. He's on par, I'd say. At least in this point in time, he is, because he made up a whole bunch more for Rebels. And I can't wait for this series. I think the last trailer really got me pumped. I loved what I saw. I love my battle
I loved
droids.
it.
Yeah,
I
it's
love that trailer. Yeah, that's
so good.
fantastic.
So good. 1 week today. I still can't. We're a week away. We're a week away from Disney Plus Mandalorian, but we are 3 days in, 4 days in to Christmas music playing on Buffalo radio stations.
No. Hey. Hold on. I just want to set the record straight. Boston, Massachusetts has received more snow than Buffalo, New York for the past 5 years in a row, people.
I wonder if that's true of Toronto as well.
Probably.
Because I think Toronto gets less than Buffalo on average.
Yeah, usually. Yeah, usually.
I went to a Bills game once, and it was in October, and I was like, never again. It's way too cold.
6-2.
Yeah,
6-2, brother.
Jets are 1-5. 1-9.
But hey, on that note about 1 week away, let's just this is the kind of positive vibe I wish we heard more about, dude. Okay? Forget that it's the Mandalorian for a minute. Just forget what we, just forget this whole concept altogether. What's at the top? We're 1 week away from the first Star Wars live action television series. Like what?
Like where's George Lucas?
Like ooh.
Well, he wanted his Underworld, man. This is what he wanted.
Yeah, 1313.
Yeah, he was not. TV wasn't ready for him back then. Now it caught up, and he's out of the game.
Yeah, it's kind of sad.
This is monumental.
No, that's kind of sad.
Yeah, it is. But also, it is what it is. I mean, you just look at TV, and it had to evolve. And the thing with George Lucas that made him so brilliant was he was way ahead of the curve. Like he was so far ahead that he knew TV was getting to this spot. Unfortunately, he didn't get there until it was too late for him.
Well,
well, you know what? He is involved in the Mandalorian. So
well, hold on, but there's more to it than that. I totally agree with you, but I want to add to that I mean, we're talking about a rumored $1 million U.S. budget per episode, right? So would this have even been possible without the Disney deal?
I would say this is
because the Clone Wars was the big thing.
Yeah.
Period. When it came to production output out of Lucasfilm, Star Wars related, when he sold to Disney, and frankly speaking, the Clone Wars did not cost not even close to what the Mandalorian's costing per episode, right? So. I mean, I'm just saying that, anybody who's happy about the first Star Wars live action series, like I am, and about it being about Mandalorians and bounty hunters and post Return of the Jedi. I mean, this is this time period that I have complained a lot about not being explored enough, and now it's getting explored. And just because it's starting off with the Mandalorian and bounty hunters and things that may not seem to be directly related to some of the bigger questions about that time period. I mean, I've speculated also that how do we know that we're not getting set up for the ultimate bounty by the end of this series? So we got to build this guy up. He's this badass or whatever bounty hunter, but so we know what his job is. It's hunting people down. Well, what would be the biggest fish in the sea if you're surrounded by this crumbling empire and all these former Imperials and despots everywhere? Who would be the prime target to put a bounty out on between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens?
Wicket.
I thought it was going to be C-3PO after that Daily Mail piece, but I mean, I'm sure you could, come on, you could pick up what I'm putting down.
There's a few names on my mind. Who are you thinking?
One of the big three.
Yeah.
One
Lando.
of the big three. Someone's going to put a hit out, a bounty out on either Luke, Leia, or Han. And Han's already been done to death. That would
Yeah,
be
you can't do
retelling.
Han.
You can't do.
I'd
I
do
would do
Leia.
Leia
Leia for
politically.
sure, yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, how awesome would that be to get Billy Lord in to play General Leia or whatever she is, Senator Leia in the New Republic, and to see that you could have this perfect overlayer storyline that leads into Bloodline by Claudia Gray. You can spin off of that a little bit. I mean, there's so much room to work off of here, and I think they're intentionally starting us off with a story that's right after, so to speak, Return of the Jedi, and that should kind of be our barometer going forward, you know? So Cassian's going to cover more of the later early rebellion between between 3 and 4. Obi-Wan's going to cover the earlier period between 3 and 4. They could meet in the middle. Obi-Wan could end up in a way where Cassian picks up.
That's what I'm hoping. I don't think it will, though, just because I think these are 6 scripts based on the. But at the same time, you throw in little threads. It's the
little
threads.
nuggets.
That's what I want. That's what I'm hoping
Little
these all
nuggets.
have. I'm with you. This is a topic conversation for another day. We're gonna have to have this one.
All right.
Right
Yeah,
now,
I hear
though,
ya.
Tristan Wren, is he the Mandalorian? We're gonna find out by December 27th. Hopefully, we'll find out. That's the season finale. Is December 27th on Disney Plus. First ever live action Star Wars show. We're excited. Hope you're excited. We're gonna be talking about this nonstop. Us and everybody else that has a podcast and YouTube channel is going to be talking about this to death. So like and subscribe and hit the bell and what he said earlier. Aaron, thanks for joining me tonight.
Smash that like button.
Tell everybody where they can find you.
And join the Gray Order, okay? And hey, I'm giving a shout out. Got to give a shout out to Josh at the Den of Nerds. I love that guy.
He hates Star Wars, though.
I know. I heard that too, and I also heard about this Andrew Fantasia guy.
He hates
Who
it
is
even
he?
more. He doesn't even know what Star Wars is.
What is he all about? Does he know anything about Star Wars?
You should challenge him to a contest.
I would never even dare, or would I? I don't know.
Where can everybody find you at?
Well, I can be found at Aaron Quinton 78 on Twitter and at Aaron Quinton A Star Wars Story on YouTube. And you cannot find me on Facebook.
All right, guys. I'm James. Thanks for watching. And as always, may the force of others be with you.
Hey scumbags, thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on our video. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rebel Scum Podcast, for all the latest videos.